Breaking news today.
Please subscribe and then check notification box to get all breaking news alerts.
Sanders is asked about President Trump's tax cuts, what he says will stun you. Ah, Uncle Bernie. It warms my heart every time I see his face. Not because he's a good legislator or leader, but because he can't help but expose his own hypocrisy. Recently, though, he was asked about the GOP's historic tax cut bill. When asked about President Donald Trump's tax cuts on the middle class, Bernie Sanders had one thing to say, and it will shock you. We may never know why the Democrats were against President Trump's tax cuts. Aren't they the ones who say they want to help the middle class? Their go-to attack on conservatives is that they only help the rich. Yet, the GOP tax bill slashed taxes for all Americans, especially the middle and working classes. So, why are liberals so upset? Perhaps it's because they'll be losing plenty of cash. Democrats support their party through bloated government programs. Many of their voters are dependent on government handouts. But with tax cuts, there is less money to fund these terrible programs. Americans will have to support themselves, instead of relying on welfare, food stamps, and other benefits. Democrats can't have that. In a recent CNN interview, Bernie Sanders was asked about the tax cuts. Expecting the usual liberal talking points, he said something that might shock you. Bernie admitted that the GOP cuts were a very good thing. That's right. Take a minute to process that if you have to. Sunday on CNN's State of the Union, when asked about the Republican tax plan, Senator Bernie Sanders, IVT, admitted it was a very good thing, the middle class would receive a tax cut. Host Jake Tapper asked Sanders if it was a good thing that 91% of middle-income Americans will receive a tax cut. Sanders replied, "Yeah, it is a very good thing. And that's why we should have made the tax breaks for the middle class permanent." Source, Breitbart. Is Uncle Bernie coming around on the GOP and President Trump? Not exactly. He went on to try to bash the GOP bill. Bernie complained that the middle class tax cuts were temporary, but the corporate tax cuts were permanent. He suggests it should have been the other way around. Hey Bernie, how many tax cuts did the left implement under Obama? Oh right, 0. So, maybe temporary tax cuts are a step in the right direction. Liberals are searching for excuses to attack this huge tax bill, which Trump signed into law just before Christmas. Yet, they come up empty. How can they attack a bill that will put more money back into American pockets? They can't, so they make up excuses to bash it. Middle-class Americans will enjoy lower taxes for the next 10 years. When was the last time we saw that? I can't remember. If they are temporary now, they can be made permanent at a later date. That's a far cry better than what the left has done, which is nothing. Bernie also complains that the tax bill will add to the deficit. Haha, really, Uncle Bernie? Obama doubled the deficit in just 8 years. He added more debt to the United States than every other president combined. Why wasn't that headline news? Liberals are still confused over why they lost the White House. I'm guessing that was a big part of it. Liberals always make big promises but come up empty. In his first year, Donald Trump made good on a litany of campaign promises. Perhaps his biggest is this tax cut. Bernie is upset because it gives permanent cuts to corporations. Good. Companies create jobs and wealth for the nation. A lower rate for them means they won't move to Ireland, which has a shockingly low corporate tax rate, at 12%. Bernie doesn't acknowledge this. Like all leftists, he wants to punish the fabled 1% with high taxes. He would then use that money to enfeeble the rest of the country with bloated government programs. Jake Tapper nods along, in agreement. As if we didn't know that both of them are closer to that 1% than they are to the rest of us. After 8 years, what did the liberals accomplish? A bad health care program and double debt. 1 year of Trump, and Americans are getting their liberty back. Uncle Bernie is going to have to do a lot better if he wants to bash President Trump. Share the story and leave a comment by clicking one of the buttons below. Follow us on Facebook at Mad World News.